I'd love to kind of get your take on the Supreme Court, because I think most of us think about it as an afterthought. We think about it as a byproduct of of who we elect effectively, or one of
Right.
the reasons we'd want to elect a particular party. But you actually feel like the current structure in and of itself is broken, and it'd be better to have built-in term limits. Is that
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yes, and part of that actually stems from looking at how other countries do this. I mean, if you look at Europe, for example, there's only one country in Europe, Denmark, that does what we do and appoint people for life. Everyone else has either term limits or age limits or both. Um, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, because if you have lifetime, well, let me go back a step. I mean, first you have to realize the enormous amount of power that the court has in American society these days. I mean, they make the final decision in all sorts of policy areas like immigration and uh, voting rights and abortion. I mean, you just go on and on and
Yeah.
on. And they're not particularly accountable. I mean, once they're there, there's nothing you can do about them. And I think the problem with appointing people for life is that people stay on the court too long. They're going to be on there. I mean, now, they're appointed in their 50s. They're there for 25 or 30 years. And the danger becomes that they're out of touch with the public. I mean, there's a small danger, which has happened in the past, also that they can become senile. I mean, that's
Yeah.
happened in the past, where they just don't have the same intellectual capacity that they used to, but they're still sitting there. And some people, well, let me put it this way. We ended up sort of being ruled by old presidents. A lot of people sitting on the courts were appointed by presidents decades ago. And they represent the political views of people that appointed them decades ago. And that's kind of a problem. And so if you had something like term limits, you would have a much more frequent turnover of people in the courts, and that hopefully would keep them a little more in touch and a little more responsive to what's going on in American politics, today.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd never thought of the concept of being ruled by old presidents. It's funny. I don't know if you've ever read the book The Political Brain by Drew Weston.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So it goes into kind of the the mechanics of partisanship. And the interesting thing that's cited in that book is that the cleverer the partisan, the more compelling reason they'll have for justifying their opinion.
Mm,
And in a lot of ways, and this will sound cynical, but from what I've seen of Supreme Court cases that seem to contradict each other over the decades, it seems to me what we have are some super clever partisans
yes,
in there.
yes,
And in a lot of ways, to kind of fossilize them in government, like you said, effectively allows for a permanent decision to be made by a temporary partisan bent.
right. Yeah, that's exactly right.